Welcome, everybody. Welcome to our channel. So today it's accounting with Lakshay. So we are going to be discussing what is the NRST. Sounds very scary. Lakshay, can you tell us all about this new tax, the NRST?
Absolutely. We're gonna wait for a couple more minutes for everyone to join. I have a few
Sure.
people that I'm letting in, so let's start within 4 minutes.
Yeah.
And yeah, if everyone can mute themselves when they come in, that would be best.
In the meantime, Lakshay, can you take the time to tell us about your accounting practice and your association with SaveMax as well?
Absolutely. So my background is basically I'm a CPA. I studied at Rotman University, University of Toronto, and
Wow.
been in the industry for approximately 7 to 8 years. I have a very broad range of experience. I've worked in the IT industry, the manufacturing industry, and now I'm in real estate. I'm the acting director for one of the biggest and fastest growing brokerage. And the basic idea for today's presentation is basically, to kind of inform you about different things that we can do and different parameters that we can, focus on when it comes to real estate and taxes. And I currently serve over 60 brokerages and over 800 agents as in my portfolio, where I file, their taxes, I perform their bookkeeping services and everything. So I know I'm kind of in the middle right now. I also have the Zoom going on as well. So I will be, going back and forth. So if you can bear with me, thank
Sure.
you first of all, Wes, for having us today.
No worries.
It is the first time that we're trying it, so please pardon us if there's any hiccups in the presentation or any technical issues.
Sure. No worries at all.
Perfect.
So, how many people have joined on your Zoom?
Over 10 people are on my Zoom right now.
Okay.
So if it's possible, if we can mute, is it possible to mute participants from your end as well?
Yeah, we have muted participants. Yes.
Perfect, perfect. All right, so let me just add everyone in now. Right. Give me 1 second.
So, thank you everybody for your patience. We are just setting up a Zoom meeting as well as we do this live on all the channels. So, we are live right now on um, Facebook as well as on LinkedIn and YouTube as well.
All right.
Okay. Yeah. So, if you're ready, Lakshay, you can go ahead.
Perfect. We'll do. Give me 1 second. Start video. Let me start this again. All right. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Let me just share my screen first. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lakshay. I am the Director of Finance with SaveMax Group of Companies. A very warm welcome to everyone. Thank you guys for joining in. I am Lakshay, and I basically do accounting and bookkeeping for realtors, real estate brokerages, as well as all full cycle bookkeeping and accounting help for individuals that are looking for accounting need. So for today's session, what we're trying to do is we're trying to cover a topic that is very, prominent in the real estate industry, which is related to NRST, non-resident speculation tax. A lot of you have been, have foreign investors, and you already know that there's an increment in the taxes that will be charged if you are a non-resident buying anything in Canada. So today's topic, hopefully I'll be able to shed some light and give you a bit of a perspective on how we can maybe minimize NRST, or if you have a personal situation that you're dealing with, how we can basically navigate through this time. So a cool picture that I have on the screen is about the Golden Horseshoe area. So before the NRST, the non-resident speculation tax, we already know whenever someone is investing, there was a rule in regards to, in Ontario, if you invest in Golden Horseshoe area, you'll be paying 15% taxes. And this is technically the Golden Horseshoe area is. Basically covers from Niagara all the way to Orillia, from Peterborough to all the way to Wellington. So basically a very good coverage here, and is basically saying that you won't be able to purchase anything if you are a non-resident. So how do I go about this? So first of all, what is foreign buyer's tax? Foreign buyer tax, also known as non-resident speculation tax, is actually a 20% tax whenever you're buying a property. So let's assume I'm in Ontario, or I'm a foreign national who is, looking to purchase a house as an investment in Ontario. There will be a ban, or there will be a 20% tax that I would need to pay on top of it. So what does it mean? On an example would be, on $1 million house, I would be paying $200,000, which is 20% more when I'm closing the house. This is before the closing and everything. So, something to think about. And this has technically, discouraged a lot of the investors that are technically looking to invest in the Ontario or in the market right now. Let me just let everyone in, waiting in the Zoom. All right. Sorry about that. All right. So this 20% tax is not just in Ontario. It is actually in BC as well. So we were not the only ones that were impacted by this. British Columbia is also another province that is, experiencing the same bump in the market. And in order to slow it down, in order to slow down the real estate, they have technically, pushed towards this tax. So who is subject to NRST? What parties are subject to? So first and foremost, any foreign entity, foreign national, or a foreign corporation. So if I incorporate where I have a mixture of Canadian residents as well as foreigners, part of the director's list of a corporation, even those will be impacted by this foreign non-resident speculation tax. If it's a foreign national, what does it mean by foreign national? So anyone who is not a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident, these are the people that are being impacted by this tax. And if you are a PR, then you won't be impacted. And if you are a citizen, of course, you won't be paying for this tax as well. So previously, like I mentioned, it was 15%. But effective March 30th, 2022, the Canadian government has, increased it to 20%. And previously, it was only 15% in the Golden Horseshoe area, as we can see on the screen. But now this is province-wide. The yellow area is technically the Golden Horseshoe area, but now, because it is province-wide 20%, this pretty much the picture is irrelevant now. Previously, it was only 15% in the yellow area.
So, Lakshay, what about, we have a question from the audience. What about Canadians who are non-residents?
Canadians who are non-residents. So very good, Wes. What I will do is I'll first go through the whole presentation, and that will likely answer this question.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you. Reeth, did you have a question as well?
Thanks, Lakshay. I also wanted to ask you about the people on work permit. Like when they buy, what are the tax implications for those people?
Perfect. Very good question. I'll be covering that in the following slides.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. So what are some of the exemptions to NRST? We all know if you're not a Canadian citizen, if you're not a permanent resident, you have to pay NRST. But is there any exemption? So here are the exemptions. So first is nominee. If you are in the Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program, that means you're going to be applying for Canadian permanent residents. Those people are exempt. If you are a refugee, they are also if you're also a refugee, they are also exempt from the NRST. If let's assume you have a spouse who is a Canadian resident or a PR in Canada, and you are a foreign national, even this scenario, you will be exempt from NRST. So first is anyone who is pursuing their PR. Second is anyone under the Refugee Protection Act. And third is if you have a spouse that is already in Canada, that is, Canadian resident, Canadian PR, then you can also avoid paying this tax. So if you're a foreign resident, this one of the things that is crucial is most of the foreigners that are putting money in to Canada, they're actually doing it for investment purposes. So if you want to be exempt and you fall in one of these categories, you need to be buying that house for primary residence. It cannot be an investment. So if let's assume my spouse is a Canadian resident or PR, and I am a foreign national who has recently moved, if you're looking to buy a house, I would technically be subject to NRST. But because my spouse is Canadian citizen or Canadian PR, I will be exempt from NRST provided I am buying that property as my primary residence. So that is the critical or crucial part that we all need to remember in this scenario. So now you must be wondering, what happens if we have actually paid for the 20% tax, which is pretty heavy, but eventually after paying for it at the time of closing, we get our PR? Can we get some sort of a rebate back, or can we get some of the money that we have paid, redundant amount, which is 20%, can we get that back? Yes, there is a way, and there's a time limit. So let's assume you're a foreign national who becomes a PR. So within 4 years of your purchase, you can technically apply for a rebate and get the 20% money back. If you're an international student who is in Canada, but you're enrolled into education full-time for at least 2 years, even international students will be exempt or technically would be able to apply for a rebate after paying for the NRST. Third, and the most important category, is a lot of people over here are on work permits and are working. So if you are working full-time for a continuous period of at least 1 year, even these people will be exempt, or they can be applying for the rebate portion. So in all of these three scenarios, whether it be an international student, whether it be a person on work permit, or someone who is becoming PR right after they had purchased their property, they can still apply, but they would need to first pay the NRST 20%, which is on the closing. But after the closing, if you become PR within 4 years, you can apply for a rebate. As an international student, you must have lived there you must be enrolled in an educational institution for at least 2 years. Only then you can apply for the rebate. For a foreign national who's work permit, working on work permit, you need to be here at least for 1 year working full time in order to apply for the rebate and get the money back.
Lakshay, just quickly. So if it's an international student, they completed the requirement, like they studied for at least 2 years after the purchase.
Yeah.
Come third year, now they're thinking, okay, we want to go back home, like to our home country, forever. So if the house is here, obviously that won't be their primary residence because they won't be living here anymore. So what will happen in that case? They can still continue owning the house and rent it. I mean, how would that work?
So the idea behind this is they can still own the house, but for the topic of today's presentation, we were trying to focus on if you're non-resident and you have to pay, 20% speculation tax, is there a way to get a rebate back? So nobody's going to take the property away. They will continue to own it even after they move back to the country. But the NRST, they might have to pay. There won't be any rebate.
Once they leave?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
But eventually, the rules keep on changing. These are all like, draft version. They are going to be enacted. There will be case specific situations where, a family breakdown or a marriage breakdown or, job switches where you have to switch provinces. So those kind of exceptions are going to be, on a case by case basis. And CRA looks at it very thoroughly. So it's not like it's a hard no or a hard yes. It will definitely be based on what would happen in future in terms of whatever the situation arises.
Sure. Thank you, Lakshmi.
Welcome. All right. So is there a time limit to apply for this rebate? Yes. So for a foreign national who become resident of Canada, they must apply within 90 days of becoming the resident for the NRST rebate. So if you were on work permit or if you were, on a tourist or whatever other type of visa you might be in, after getting your Canadian citizenship or after getting your permanent residency, you have at least 90 days to apply for the NRST rebate. Otherwise, you'll lose that chance. And if you're an international student and foreign national, you have within 4 years that you need to apply of paying the NRST. So you have right after the closing, you have 4 years to apply for this, and within 90 days of getting your Canadian PR or citizenship. So one question that I want to ask the audience is, as an example, for example, Tomoko, Shosh, Anne, and Livin buys a house, and they each own 25% interest in the house. So 4 parties, they all own 25% for a $1.5 million house. 3 of them are Canadian citizen, but Livien is actually foreign national. How is the NRST applied? So I'll give it a chance to the audience to participate and see what do they think. How will the NRST work in this scenario?
So would it be like the 25% Libyan owned? Would he pay this tax? The other people would be exempt, being the Canadian citizens.
That's a good guess. Any other guesses? So the question is, if 4 people buy a house and all 4 have equal interest, 3 of them are Canadian citizen, 1 of them is a foreign national, how will the NRST work? Reed gave a very good example where she thinks only 25% of 1.5 million would be subject to NRST. What do you guys think?
We think she's right.
All right, so I guess Wes and Reed are on the same side. The other option is, so basically what you guys are saying is 1.5 million times 25% would work out to approximately $300,000 additional in NRST. The answer is actually, even though only one of the party is, subject to the foreign national, all 4 will be paying the NRST. This is a loophole that, CRA thinks a lot of the people will be using. So they have basically said you won't be able to, use it, because even if you are a Canadian citizen who is buying with foreign national, they think that it is the foreign national that you're trying to protect. That's why the entire amount of 1.5 million will be subject to NRST. So in this scenario, 1.5 million, the entire house price will be subject to 20%, sorry, NRST, not just the portion that is owned by the non-resident. I hope Reet and Vaz, you guys got your answer?
Yes. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
This is Bharta. So regarding the NRST rebate, if a couple is on a work permit, or let's say one person is doing full-time job,
yes,
right, and they have bought the house and it's their principal residence, they are still applying for waiting for their permanent residency. So it is more than 1 year they are in the full-time job. Can they apply for NRST rebate?
Yes, so they can as soon as they get their Canadian citizenship, or even in this scenario, it was a person working full-time continuously here, so he can still apply without even getting their PR.
Without getting PR. Yes. Okay, now next question is where they have to go to apply for rebate. What is the website? It is the service, is the Canada, what's the website?
So it's the same portal where we apply for the land transfer tax rebate. But what you can do, you can reach out to me and I can walk you through the steps of where this can be applied.
Okay, wonderful. So that's a rule is there, and they can apply, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you so much. Thanks.
Welcome.
Look, in that scenario, they have to pay 20% NRST first, right?
Yeah, they first have to pay and then apply for the rebate.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Sorry. Hi, Rishi, Robin this side.
Go ahead.
So I was just looking at your example you've shown. So I have a question to hand on to that one. Instead of this for individual, if it's a business registered in Canada, if the business is purchasing a property and one of the stakeholders of this business is an NRI, and how does this implicate? Like, will everyone have, the business still has to pay the 100% NRST?
Yes.
Or is it accepted from the NRST?
Yeah, so very good question, Robin. If there is a business where the directors are foreign national, that would be considered a foreign entity purchasing a unit in Canada, and that would still be subject to NRST.
So what if the business is a Canadian business and it's a Canadian federal registered business and majority stake of the business is in Canada, or the people who holds a major stake of the business are Canadians, then what will be the situation?
That's a good question. I want to say the entire amount would still be subject to NRST based on this example. But because you're saying the majority stake of the business is owned by Canadian residents, I would want to, have a second look at this question and, get back to you.
No, sure. Thanks.
Hey, Laksha, this is Vinay. I have a quick question.
Hi.
Laksha, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so if one person who is on a work permit or a foreign national, will they get a mortgage and because of the non-resident status, and how much down payment they are required to put on top of 20% speculation tax?
That's a very good question, but that would be a very good question for a realtor. So you should be answering that for me. But from what I have heard so far, you need to put at least 35% down payment. It's almost like if someone was buying a commercial property, they have to put higher interest rate and pay a bigger down payment. Same as it is the criteria with someone who is a foreigner who's willing to purchase it here. They will need to pay bigger down payment as well as their interest rate would be a little bit higher.
From next year, I believe they won't be able to buy even with 35% down because the government now changed the rules for foreign.
Yes, they banned them for 2 years. Correct. So Reet is very updated.
Thanks, Laksha. I do mortgages too, so that's why I know.
Perfect. All right. So what is our solution? So the meat of the presentation I've already, talked about. What is NRST, which is 20%, who is subject to NRST, anyone who is not a Canadian, who's not a Canadian citizen and who is on work permit or anyone who is not a PR or a Canadian citizen is subject to NRST. So how do we go about, applying for? And then I talked about how you can apply for a rebate even though you're not a foreign national, and the criteria of applying within 90 days of getting your Canadian citizenship. So coming to our solution, that how can we go about, not paying NRST? Solution number one would be, if it's a foreign investor, if they are buying a building which has more than 6 units, then you are not subject to NRST. So that is one of the ways that you can, bypass paying it. The second is, you should start looking into commercial properties rather than residential. So if you have a commercial property that you're trying to look into, there are some rules in regards to it, which I'm sure your realtor can talk about, uh, where you can bypass paying the NRST. So two solutions. One is look into commercial properties. Second is buy properties with buildings which is more than 6 residential dwelling units. And that is how you can, bypass paying the additional 20% NRST. Perfect. So in summary, this tax is not for Canadian citizen or PR. This is technically just for foreigners to limit their the speculation and increasing the real estate prices in Canada. So hope this kind of sums up some of your concerns about NRST that is coming up. And if you have more questions and if you want to book a one-on-one, you can certainly email me, or you can just simply call me, and I'll be more than happy to meet you in person as well. Thank you guys for joining in today. I'll leave the board open now for more questions if someone has any.
So Lakshay, thanks for having this session. I would like to add one more question.
Thank you. Sure.
Is NRST to commercial property?
There's just so the very good question. NRST is applicable to commercial properties, but there is specifics in terms of buildings and lands. It is only subject to one of them, not both. So when I say look into commercial properties to avoid NRST, you would need to look into because whenever you buy commercial property, there's two components: there's land and then there's building. So you would need to see or talk to your realtor as to, is it subject to NRST or not? So it's very case by case basis. Not all commercial properties are, you can bypass NRST, and not all of them are subject to NRST either. It is only one of the portion.
Is there any specific portal where we can check this data?
Absolutely. I can share, if you can email me, I can maybe share you maybe an article or like a publication where you can read more about this.
Okay, sure.
Lakshay, quickly, would you mind sharing the slides with us?
Yes, absolutely. You can email me and I'll be more than happy to reply back with the slides.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Welcome.
Also, Lakshay, just to tell the audience as well, this is right now being streamed on Facebook, LinkedIn, as well as on YouTube. And we will provide them a copy of the YouTube video as well if they need it.
Perfect. So we, with the help of one of my colleagues, we are recording this session. So if someone wants to rewatch at a later stage, I can certainly pass on the link and they can review this.
That's really good, Lakshay. Another thing, all your sessions, they are really good. I mean, very good starting points, I would say.
Thank you.
So I don't know if it's possible for you to perhaps record all the sessions, and I don't know if you could perhaps have a link or somewhere where all the recordings could go, and then perhaps you could share like all of us, and whenever
Absolutely.
we're stuck on something, we can just click on that and we can go through that. I think that would be really good.
Does that mean not a lot of people are going to watch the live session?
No, I'm sure people will like. They're gonna join the sessions, but sometimes you forget things, right? When
Yes,
we
absolutely.
are in the session, we know. Okay, yes, oh yeah, we know. But maybe 2-3 3 months down the line, we might, oh my God, what did Lakshya say? I forgot all about it.
Okay,
but
okay.
if we have the link, perhaps we could just revisit. And,
yeah, certainly. So we are working on now. Today was the first recording that we did. So we are working on a platform where we can, record all of these videos and you guys can see it. So certainly we can, we'll be more than happy to share them as well once it's ready.
And tell Lakshya, tell her that she was the star of the show for today, and by asking the questions and answers.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you very much, guys. Once again, everyone, for joining in. We do these sessions every Tuesday around 2 p.m. from 2 to 2:30. So if you guys have any more suggestions or any topics that you want me to cover in future, I'll be more than happy to do that as well. But if no one has any more questions, I can sign off now.
Thank you, Lakshay. Appreciate it. So on the screen here as well, Lakshay Gandhi, CPA, CGA, 647-987-4025. And you can email Lakshay at support@accountingops.ca. So if you're a realtor, you want to do your taxes right, reach out to Lakshay. If you're a broker of record watching this, you got to do your taxes right and your accounting right, reach out to Lakshay. And thank you, Akshay, for joining us. It's been a pleasure, and we'll see you again on a Tuesday.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.
Go ahead, Mehul.
Sorry, I just joined I was on the call, but just I have questions. I have a client. He's on a work permit. He's not PR yet, and he likes to buy properties. Obviously, he has to pay additional 35, additional 50%, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
There's resale property, but once he's done PR, like in 6 months, how long it takes to get the rebate?
Right now, the rebate application process hasn't started, right? But usually it takes, for most of the rebates I've seen, it takes within 6 months to come back.
So if he buys property before December, say.
Yeah.
And he's on PRs. He's not on PRs. Technically, he's a foreign nation.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Then bank will definitely ask for 35%. But
Correct.
Once he's done PR, like say he's done PR before December and he already bought a purchase property like in October time frame.
Exactly, yeah.
Then he can apply refund before December. Then he takes 6 months, right? You said.
Yes.
Typically. I see.
6 months is like more on the higher side. It could take within 3 to 6 months.
3 to 6 months.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Understood. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Thank you guys very much for joining in, and you guys have yourself a very great afternoon and have a good day. All right. Take care.